Go back to our channel. Today we're going to be talking about the aggregate function in Excel 365. We're going to tell you about it, the arguments required. I'll also provide a ChatGPT prompt that actually generated the data set that we're going to be using. And I'll include that prompt itself in the description of the video so you can copy it. And also too, at the end, we're gonna create a simplified version of the aggregate function using the sum option with it. So understanding the aggregate function. In Excel, it returns an aggregate, basically a summary calculation like average, count, max or min, or even sum from a range of data. It also allows you to ignore things like hidden rows or error values, for example. Now, the aggregate function in Excel is a powerful tool. It performs calculations on groups of data, like I said, and it allows you to group that data based upon specific criteria and then apply functions to each group. Now, what is this particular use of course? So these are some examples. Calculating summary statistics, like finding averages, sums, mins, and max for specific groups of data, or even creating pivot tables, like organizing or summarizing large data sets. And another example would be performing your data analysis. So you can identify trends, patterns, and outliers within data. Now, on a side note, what is an outlier in your data set? Well, basically, outliers are data points that stand out from the rest of your data set because they're unusually high or low, which means that they can throw off your analysis, making trends and averages less reliable. Now, examples of outliers are, let's say you have sales data. Now, imagine you have stores data sales data that shows consistent figures around $500. But one day it spikes to 5,000. Now, the 5,000 is an outlier. If your data set is regarding temperature records, now you may track months temperature data. So most days, the range of temperatures range between 50 degrees or 70 degrees. And one day it suddenly hits 90 degrees. Now the 90 degrees would be considered an outlier. Now if you, another example would be exam scores. So let's say your data set has student test scores ranging between 70 and 90, but you have a score of 30, which would be considered an outlier. Now, outliers can indicate errors in data entry, measurement of anomalies, or unique occurrences that are require further investigation. So now let's go on to the ChatGPT prompt that I used. Let's delete this here for a second. Now here I have the actual ChatGPT prompt that I use. Now again, I'm going to include this exact wording in the description of the video. But please be aware that there are different ChatGPT versions out there. You could use Gemini, which is from Google, or Copilot from Microsoft, or OpenAI. Now, if you copy this exact prompt in any one of those, please be aware that each one of these versions will produce a different data set for you at that particular time. So this is the data set that it actually created for me. I asked it for 100 rows of data for a specific company, and this is what it gave me back. So I could use this now to perform a lot of different data analysis. And in future videos, I'm going to use this exact same data set to give you real life examples on how you can analyze your data using multiple different functions with Excel. Now let's get on to the aggregate function itself. Now let's say you have your product right here, list of products, and you have sales for each one of these products. Now, if I use the sum function, let's go up to the formula bar. I'm just using the basic sum function where I'm summing this entire range of data, starting from this point all the way down to the end of the data set. And it calculates, it sums up all the values. And if you look in the status bar down here in the lower right, it says 41,925.44. We go back up here, you can see it calculates the same value. Now, let's, for example, you want to filter this data. Watch what happens to this actual sum function. So I'm going to deselect this, and I'm only going to select a few of these, for example. So in other words, I want to get a sum of the sales figures just for these different product names. Let's click OK. As you can see, this sum function up here is summing all the values in that particular range, which was from row 6 all the way down to roughly 106. Now, you can see over here to the left here, we have the row numbers being highlighted in a different color. And then to separate it, it has a double line here. That means that this data is now being filtered for the items that we selected. But I want to get a sum of just these values here. So if I click on here, if you go down to the bottom right hand corner, you can see the sum value of these values, filter data, is equal to 2691 approximately. So that doesn't equal this. So the aggregate function does correct this. Now, of course, I already have the aggregate function written out. I'm going to clear this. And now, again, the aggregate function. Let's do this step by step. So let's equal aggregate. Now, what do we want to aggregate by? Meaning we have all these different options here. So today we're just going to talk about the option of summing. So I want to sum the values in this particular range. So I'm going to select 9. Let's go on to the next argument. The next argument allows you to ignore certain values. And these are all the different values that we can ignore. So in this particular case today, I just want to ignore hidden rows because what we're going to be doing, I'm going to be filtering the data. And when you filter the data, that means you're going to hide some of the rows in the range. So let's select 5. Let's go on to the next argument. What are we summing? What range are we summing by? So I'm going to select this entire range, which is unfiltered at this time. Control Shift down arrow, Control backspace to bring us back up here. Let's close it out. The last argument is optional. We're not going to talk about that today. Let's close this out. As you can see, the aggregate function brings back the same value as the regular sum function. But this is where it comes into play on how useful it can get. Now let's filter this data. Let's deselect this. And let's just filter on a couple of these. Okay, now the aggregate function is gonna sum all the sales values for only these particular product names that I selected. Let's click OK. And as you can see, if I could select the first one in the range, Control Shift down arrow, go down to the bottom right hand corner, In the status bar, you will see the sum value brings back 1888.59, which matches what we got here. So that's how you could use the aggregate function in your data analysis. And let me take a step back further. How do I get these filter buttons up here if you don't already know? There's a shortcut key that you could use. Now, this data set right now is not set up as an Excel table. So what you could do is, let's unfilter it first. Control Shift down arrow. And to toggle these filter buttons on and off, all you have to do is Control Shift L, and it turns it on and off. Control Shift L again, and it turns it back on. So that's how you can filter your data. Hopefully today's tutorial was very helpful for you on understanding how to use the aggregate function as it compared to a regular sum function. And hopefully you got some value out of how to use ChatGPT to create your data set for analysis. Again, I want to thank you for stopping by. In the next few tutorials, I use this same data set, and we're going to do further data analysis using other functions in Excel. You have a great day. Remember to like and share this video and comment. And also please subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already, because by subscribing, you will always get updated when I upload a new video. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye now.